Okay, well, welcome to our event today. Let me apologize a little bit for the space. We had more of a turnout here than we expected, so obviously we're a little bit short on space, but I think most people are fairly comfortable. And in any event, we came here primarily because we want to honor 4 very special veterans. Before we get to that, though, I'm just going to give you a little bit of background. I think, as most of you know, our organization, Veterans Last Patrol, is a nonprofit focused on veterans and end-of-life care, what we call the Last Patrol. Fortunately, these gentlemen are not there yet, but because of their unique status, we want to take this opportunity to honor them and show our respect to them for their service to the country. So we look after veterans around the country that are on their last patrol. We have volunteers in 21 states right now, and we hope to continue to grow. The focus is friendships, emergency assistance, and honor ceremonies, a form of what we're doing here today. Before we get into the main part of our event, though, I'd like to thank a number of people here for being involved with this, and also express my appreciation for those of you that participated in our recent Operation Holiday Salute. As far as being involved in this event, in particular, I want to thank Barney Dimeless, who's, I think, where are you, Barney? Right here, sorry. I misplaced you for a moment. Barney is a developer from California, got a passion on our mission, and stepped up to really do this special performance and presentations that we're going to do here today. So thank you for being a part of it. I'd like to thank John Mobley from Veterans Lunch Corps back here. A number of his veterans that are part of the Lunch Corps right next door to Costco. They meet every Friday from 11:30 to 1. John?
11 to 1:30.
11 to 1:30. Remember, those folks are over here today, those veterans that join us. We've got Shelley and the team from Veterans Lunch Corps, or Veterans Meet for Lunch, up at Plank Owner in Bowling Springs. Some of those folks are down here. A lot of them work together. A number of American Legion posts are here. I saw 214. I saw 28. I saw, who else did I miss?
121.
121
200.
from Williamston, South Carolina. 200 from Bowling Springs.
33.
33. Where are you guys out of?
Woodruff.
Woodruff, okay. We've got the Military History Center back here today, represented by Wayne Schultes. He drove his military vehicle out front. Hopefully you all saw that and have a chance to take a look at it on your way out if you did not. Any VFWs or other groups that I didn't mention?
Vietnam Vets of America.
Vietnam Vets of America, Marine Corps League is here. Any other groups? Don't want to miss anybody.
We have a key.
American Legion Riders.
We have a key contributor sitting next to me right here. She's the lady that sponsors over 4 veteran organizations, but she sits here quietly just to enjoy. Who knows how many millions she's given, but we'll just be quiet about that.
Thank you for being here, man.
Boyd, VBA also.
Yeah, Vietnam Veterans of America is here. So as you can see, what's that?
Submarine veterans.
Submarine can never forget the submariners. Those guys are important seals. One of our very best volunteers here is from the Submariner Association, so Art Allen. So there are a lot of important people here that make things like this happen. Most of you in the room are veterans, or if not veterans, family members of veterans. So this should be an illustrative view of the importance of service and military service, how we're willing and able to honor our fellow veterans up until what we call and through what we call their last patrol. I also like to thank Roger Williams and Susan Galt here. They're part of Last Patrol, and they were the key assets to make sure Operation Holiday Salute happened. If you don't know what Operation Holiday Salute is, and you were involved in that too, ma'am, it is our national effort to get Christmas cards out to as many veterans in hospice care around the country as we can. And this year we're able to get packets of cards to approximately 7,000 veterans in hospice care around the country. 7,000. And they range from Hawaii to New York to Massachusetts to Florida to, of course, right here in the upstate. Most of those veterans got a pack of cards that included like 6 or 7 personalized cards from children, from adults, from organizations all over the country. So thank you for everybody who's involved with that. Contributing cards, contributing money, contributing man hours. Very important to our mission, and it was a great success. So, that being said, today we want to do a special recognition of 4 very special veterans. And we're going to do that by recognizing their service. We're going to highlight a little bit about each of their service time. And then Barney, Mr. Dimos, is going to come up and make a very special presentation that he's prepared and worked on for quite some time. But I want to tell you a little bit about each veteran before we start. And I've got this not in order of importance or branch of service, but alphabetically, so no one's going to say I didn't know. So Mr. Greene, Walter Greene right here, is first as a Marine veteran. He grew up here in Spartanburg County. He entered service in March of 1944 and served in the 2nd Battalion, 24th Regiment of the 4th Marine Division. His division stopped in Hawaii on the way to the Pacific War, and most importantly, or most memorable for his service, he landed in Iwo Jima on 19 February 1945. In talking to Walter recently, he told us about his service, and one of the things he mentioned was an incident where he was in a crater, bombed out crater from the war, all the shelling that took place on the island before the invasion. He landed, he went in, at one point he's in this crater, got separated from his colleagues, but he had some fellow Marines with him in that crater. And that night, despite all the bombing that was going on and the firing, he fell asleep. And to this day, he says he's amazed that he could fall asleep in that environment. But while he was asleep, the Japanese attacked, and he told us that he woke up and saw the Japanese running at his position in that crater. And fortunately, some of his Marine buddies returned fire and killed that attacking Japanese. So, despite being asleep, he remembered that story. And from then on, he fought nobly in the campaign, was later wounded while he was doing a litter-bearing mission, carrying a fellow wounded Marine down one of the hillsides there in Iwo Jima. So, thank you, Walter, for your service to the country. We got a couple things now we're going to do for you. I'd like to get Jack to come up first and do yours, if you don't mind, for Mr. Greene.
Okay. On behalf of the American Legion, South Carolina, I have a certificate of honor and a coin, a challenge coin I'd like to give to you. And also, I've had one of my fellow people in the service make these up. And this is as I proudly serve my country.
Wow.
Thank you very much.
Barney, can we find Walter's flag? So I'm going to ask Barney to come up, and he's going to tell us a little bit more about what he's done here and how he put it all together.
Thanks for having me here, and I appreciate Clyde letting me participate in this event today. You know, first off, tell you a little bit about myself. My father served in the 1st Marine Division and fought at Okinawa. He was a Marine stretcher bearer there, and my brothers and I obviously were raised Semper Fi and very proud of him. Had a lot of respect for him. How lucky was I that my father was probably the toughest, nicest, most affectionate guy I could have had for a father, and taught us a lot about what went on there in Okinawa. And briefly, I don't know if you guys, there was a movie and a book that came out a few years ago just after he passed away. It was called Flags of Our Fathers. I don't know if you've heard of that, but really what the story of that is about is that the son of one of those flag raisers in Iwo Jima kind of went up in typical of my generation, kind of discovered up in the attic after his father passed away, found some medals and learned more about him. And the more that I looked into that and read, and I've actually looked up some fellow Marines in his unit, came to see just how incredible this greatest generation that ever lived really is. You know, first off, I want to thank all you veterans. You know, you guys walked your talk. You stepped up and gave part of your life to your country, and I can't thank you guys enough, and everyone Even now and then, when it seems that our vets are a little taken for granted, when the crap hits the fan, everyone looks to you, and we're very grateful for your protection of our country and our freedom. But next off, I mean, looking at how I look at the greatest generation that ever lived, I mean, these all you guys, you four in particular, left your homes. I read more about this, left your homes, your families, your jobs, to go do the right thing and protect our country from two very, very evil regimes. So I just cannot extend enough of how grateful my generation is to you, and will always be grateful to you guys. And in doing so, I met a vet actually from Virginia, and I met I came together with them, and I met his niece. And something that she mentioned to me was that he was a Marine and went on an occupation in China after the war was over, like my father did. And she told me how he was always kind of disappointed that he never got his medals, because by the time he came home, all the ticker tape parades were over, and you know, it was a little bit, the celebrating was a little bit passé. And I thought about how important that is, because having their medals is not just something for them to have and be proud of, but it's something that should be handed down to every generation for us to remember just how incredibly brave and giving this generation was in defending our country. So having said all that, this is the first one I've created here, and this is for Walter. The medals in here basically represent the Pacific Theater and the Marines. Walter, this is the Japanese theater medal. There's a World War II victory medal. Marine good standing, Marine good conduct, and several others throughout here. Occupation after the war. But probably the most important two are right here, and that is that the 4th Marine Division there got the Presidential Unit Citation, and this is a Purple Heart. So we want to thank you, Walter, for your service. And here, couldn't describe how grateful we are.
Thank you very much.
It's our pleasure and privilege.
You're a tough one.
So, we want to proceed to the second veteran now, and this will be Mr. Bob Justice. Bob entered the Navy in August 1st, 1944, and his service took him to Pearl Harbor, the Marshall Islands, and then to Okinawa. He took part in our invasion of Okinawa and was still there when the Japanese surrendered after the dropping of the atom bomb. Bob served in the 19th CB Battalion, part of the Marine Corps, part of the Navy, and he was a heavy construction, heavy equipment operator, and did airstrip construction and cleanup work there on Okinawa, primarily driving a bulldozer and building airfields. He didn't leave Okinawa until January of 46. In addition to the fight there, he experienced a couple of very severe typhoons. We know about hurricanes here. He was explaining to me about typhoons and the difference there in the Pacific. And at least one of those typhoons, he was telling us, was so severe it pretty much knocked out everything on the island, threw all the ships up on the island, turned over all the equipment and housing and so forth they'd built on the island, and was just kind of a repeat of the devastation that Okinawa had experienced during the war. So Bob, thank you so much for your service, and I'm going to turn it back over to Barney now.
All right, this is for Bob Justice. Once again, his medals for serving. Similar, the Japanese Victory Medal, Japanese Theater, CDs, Navy Good Conduct, American Campaign Overseas, and a World War II Victory Medal.
I can't believe this. I can't believe it. I really didn't do this much,
Yes, he did.
Yes, you
Typical
did.
how humble they are.
but if Uncle Sam wanted me to do it again, I'd do it again.
All right, yes, sir. I don't know if everybody heard that, but he said if Uncle Sam wanted me to do it again, I would do it again.
It's rare that you see a Navy sailor create so much of his own, of salt water from his eyes.
You're salty. You're salty.
You can call it whatever you want.
Bob.
Incidentally, this uniform was issued to me 78 years ago when I was 17. Add that together, that makes 95. I've gained 3 pounds. I don't know where I went wrong. But anyway, it still fits, all 13 buttons, one for each colony. So that's little Bobby. And I still teach swimming. I started teaching swimming in lifesaving when I was 15. I ran the Shrine Club pool for 37 years. He remembers that.
Yes.
So, I'm also a wind jammer.
You want us to talk?
Let me finish with him, and we'll come back and let you have 2 minutes also.
You can't tell him 2 minutes.
So we got to set the second part of your presentation, Bob.
Again, American Legion is going to give you a certificate of honor and a challenge coin. And I would like to give you this plaque that says, "I'm proudly served my country."
Thank you, sir.
You deserve it. Thank you, Mr. Justice, for your service.
Okay, a Marine here told me you wanted to say a word or two, so
Oh,
Walter, go ahead.
there was 5 of us boys, brothers,
5 brothers, huh?
and at the same time. uh, And I was the youngest of them. There was 3 of us overseas, 4 counting Hawaii. And they volunteered, one, two the oldest one, and then the others of us, I volunteered, and there wound up being 5 of us in the military at one time. And,
Quite a family of service. 5 family members at one time. I know Bob's brother also served while he was serving. I'm
What's
sorry.
supposed to be 5 in it, but there's 5 of us, and that, they never did catch us.
Okay, before proceeding to the next 2 gentlemen, we're going to do a little special program here. And I'd like to ask Brad McKay to come up and do a presentation on the U.S. flag, because we all know how important the U.S. flag is to our nation and especially to our veterans. And so we're going to do that this time. Brad.
Well, before I get too much in depth on that, I want to thank again all the veterans that are here and all the patriots that are here. And the one thing that is so dear to my heart is to reminisce. Let's go back all the way back to high school. Remember when you finished high school and it was time to serve. Whether you did it because you volunteered or you were drafted, the point is you did it. And that is what is important to us today, because we experience the freedom that we have today because of your sacrifice and that you have paid. And remember, there are three sayings that I would like you to take with you. All have served and gave, and there are some who gave all. The flag does not wave in the wind because of the wind. It waves because of our patriots and our veterans. And it's so important. George Washington said, "I will die standing before I'm free on my knees." And this resonates through all of our patriots here because it's so important. And that being said, if you remember when you were all the way in elementary school, anybody, what was the first thing you did in class? The Pledge of Allegiance. Let's stand. Row, attention, present arms. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Order, pause. Please be seated. There are some of you who have actually heard this before, but I need to also integrate the Betsy Ross flag. Do you have that over there? To usher, okay. If you remember correctly, George Washington said, "I need a flag to lead my troops." And so what he did was, over there, he found somebody to be able to make a flag. And can you tell me who that person was? Betsy Ross, you better believe it. And she came up with a design, and there were actually three generals. But George Washington, they agreed upon the 13 stars and the 13 stripes. And I need to let you know that those 13 stars stands for the 13 original colonies. Remember that they were in conflict with Britain. Britain was trying to take over their land, their farm. They're trying to conquer. And what group came up to help defend our country from the farmlands was the Minutemen. And they were militia, and they said, "We will fight on a moment's notice." And so there our country starts. And I want you to know the 13 stripes on there has a meaning. Red stands for the bloodshed, white stands for purity, and the blue stands for valor. And this flag was our first started in the war with our troops. And now, if you think all the way back up to the United States, up to where we are today, how many soldiers have sacrificed their lives to give us the freedom that we have? Now, there is controversy, and they said, "Well, I didn't want to go over there, and I didn't want to fight over there." But you did, and you sacrificed. And that being said, I want to give an extra thanks to the family members, because the family members were also the people who sacrificed their lives as their loved ones went into the service. And I'd like to share one little segment of that. If you remember correctly, that when we got out of high school and that draft started coming in, or you volunteered, you went to your mom and dad and you said, "I'm going to join." And who do you think was the first one that reacted? What? Was the mom. And she said, "Are you sure you're thinking this through?" But what does dad say? "Go get him, son. Airborne." Well, he didn't say airborne at that time. That was my saying, because I'll follow airborne all the way. And so he gets on there, and he gets on the bus with his civilian bags, and they go all the way down to basic training. And he gets, as they're sitting there, like at 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning, the bus opens up and walks on this person with a round brown hat. And he said, I would like to welcome you, at this time it was my fort, Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri. And all of us were eyes glazed onto what they called the drill sergeant. And I remember one of them saying, I am so glad that I've joined the military to get away from mom and dad, because that's all they did was yell at me, tell me. And then the drill sergeant opened up his mouth. Oh my goodness, there was yelling in this ear, yelling in that ear, and as he exited the bus, they trembled. And if any of you remember the 2 yellow footprints that you had to step on, and all the gear was down, well, I wanted you to reminisce a little bit of what it started out to be like. And guess what took place in probably 95 to 98% of all the people that went into the military? They grew up because of that discipline that was behind. And you see, the service had a particular over your head. If you didn't do it, they would bust you, take you down to all your rank, 2 months of your pay, and possibly put you in the brig. Did not screw that head on? You got that right. And you said, you know what, I'm going to come forward. I'm going to do it. And as time went on, they matured. They matured. And then maybe you were called into a conflict or a war. And then you matured even more. Maybe you saw some things that a lot of us didn't experience, but it penetrated the heart. And so I want to let you know that I just feel so thankful today that we have our flag that we stand under. And I will conclude with this short story of the flag, okay? I want you to picture in your mind Fort McHenry, a fort that sat right off the coast. And remember the Continental Congress, they came together and they said, we will set our prisoners free on a one-to-one basis. Because Britain had them, and so did Fort McHenry had prisoners. And that agreement was made. And so the admiral comes up on a ship, and Francis Scott Key was the mediator in between that to say, we will do this on a one-to-one basis. So he went down into the bottom of the boat, and what did he see? All these soldiers that were stuffed in the cages. And he said, men, today you will be free. Now, if you were a captive, what do you think went through your heart at that time? Man, you were jubilant. Yes, we are going to be free, because who knows how long they were on the ship and how long they were captive. So Francis Scott Key went back up to the ship, and he told the admiral, okay, we're ready. Let's change it. What do you think the enemy did? Oh, no. There's another stipulation. He said, what's that? He said, oh, we'll honor our commitment. But before we do, you see that fort over there? You see that flag? They got to lower it. Now here's something that is amazing. They want you to lower that flag. So how important is that flag actually to you? Well, to this Fort McHenry, the admiral says, I'll give you 2 hours for that flag to come down. If it doesn't, Francis Scott Key says, well, what are you going to do? He said, I'm going to blow that fort off the map. He said, you can't do that. That's predominantly just women and children. It's not a military fort. He said, but I've given them a way out. Lower that flag. So then what happened? 2 hours went by, that flag never lowered. And outside there were a whole bunch of ships, and the admiral of that ship said, fire! And they fired onto that fort. And fired, and fired, and fired. And as the smoke cleared, each time the big barrage went through, what did they see? The flag was still standing. Francis Scott Key went down, and what did the men say? Where's our flag? And he said, men, it's still standing. And they all prayed and said, thank you, Lord, protect our flag. So he went back up again, and the admiral was ticked off. He said, fire, I know we're hitting that flag. Fire and fire. And they kept firing until the sun started to rise. And as the smoke cleared, he looked over there, and what did they see? The flag was still standing. Well, Francis Scott Key said, I'm disturbed too. How can that be? I know they hit that flag. So he went to the fort, and this is what he saw. As each time the barrage was hitting, a soldier, a patriot, would go over and hold up the flag. And then the shelling hit, and he died, and another patriot, another soldier came to hold up the flag until the bodies started piling up. And they died right there, but yet the flag was still standing at an angle. And that is the story of how our flag meant to these people. So I challenge you now, please, every time that you see a veteran, tell him that you appreciate his service, you love him, put your flag out in front of your house and let this world know we are patriots. Airborne? Thank you.
Thank you, Brad. Powerful. As always, we appreciate that. So, we're going to go on to our third veteran now, World War II veteran, and this one is Stanley Moore. Stan was with the 2nd Separate Engineer Marine Battalion going into Iwo Jima. He was assigned to the 3rd Marine Division. Despite being an engineer, assigned to the Engineer Battalion, they put him down into a line company, an infantry company, for a time. And among other things, Stan served as a combat photographer. After Japan surrendered, he also spent time in China, because he stayed in the Army with the same unit, same Marine Engineer Battalion. Stan continued his service and ended up later serving in Vietnam as well. So he's what we call a twofer. He served in combat in 2 wars, and he retired as a Master Sergeant. Stan, we thank you very much for your service, and I'd like to ask Jack to come up here and do your part of it, please.
Okay, again, American Legion, South Carolina, I'd like to give you a certificate of honor, sir, and a challenge coin. Thank you for your service to your country, and a plaque. I proudly serve for my country.
Barney, come on up.
Stanley, we want to show our appreciation and honor you here today. So this is the medal display case we created for you. Once again, several medals, everywhere from the World War II Victory Medal, China Occupation, Marine Good Conduct, Overseas Campaign, Combat Medal, Honorable Discharge, Defense of Our Country, and Navy Marine Commemorative. And very importantly, right here stands out as where the 3rd Marine Division got the Presidential Unit Citation in defense of our country and taking the island of Iwo Jima. So, thank you.
Oh, yeah, we got it.
I think you got 2 Marines in that family. All right, congratulations, Stan. Would you like to say anything to the group? Stan knows that action speaks louder than words, right, Stan?
wife's gonna speak for him.
He just wouldn't keep his mouth shut.
It took a while, didn't it?
If I could say, Stan tells the best jokes at our veterans lunch. You'd think he's quiet, but all of a sudden he'll blurt out a joke. Best joke you ever heard in the military. Am I right, Shelley?
Yes, you're right.
Time.
Never tell him about my wife.
Never tell one about his wife, he said.
Oh. He might feel like telling one right now.
So how long have you been married, Stan? 64 years. But we had some wonderful years.
Wonderful vacation. She went to Alaska and I went to Mexico. That's what we're at.
Started something with that, John, now they're going at it.
It's on.
Hey, Stan, when I first met you, you told a joke about the Navy. You want to tell that joke? Or not?
I don't remember it.
Okay, I don't either. I mean, your memory's better than mine. Okay, never mind.
So we're going to go on now and honor our last veteran today, and this is George Reitmeier here, back table. George served in the Army 66th Infantry Division, and arrived in Europe 1944. If you remember, that's when the Battle of the Bulge was going on, Christmas 1944, so that's when George arrived. He'd almost died, however, when being transported on the Belgian ocean liner, the Leopold, which was transporting 3,000 soldiers, was hit by a German torpedo. 14 officers and 748 enlisted men were lost in that attack. However, as the ship was going down, George jumped off the ship onto a British destroyer in the dark, in heavy seas. He landed on the destroyer's deck and was knocked out, until he woke up only the next day. His division, the 66th, went on to fight in the Brittany part of southwest France, south of the Normandy landings. George, I want to thank you today for your service and honor you for being a patriot.
George, the American Legion of South Carolina would like to give you a certificate of honor and a challenge coin. And I'd like to give you a plaque that says, I proudly served my country. Thank you, sir.
Morning.
George, we want to honor and thank you today as well. This is the medal plaque that we've created for you and your family. The medals here for this particular campaign include a World War II Victory Medal, European Theater, Overseas Combat Campaign, Cross de Guerre, Army Good Conduct, and Army Commemorative. Again, this is for George. Thank you so much for your service.
George, would you like to say anything to the group?
Thank you.
More importantly, thank you for your service.
Amen.
So I think we all all know how important patriotism is and how important it is to recognize patriotism. And one of the things we want to do towards the end of this ceremony here is do a little patriotic music. Mr. Greene's son, Bart, is a musician, and he's here with us today. He's going to play a few tunes, and then we'll proceed to close the ceremony after the music. And take it away.
Thank you, Claude. Thank you, each and every one. I want to tell you what an honor it is to be here today in the presence of, get a little choked up, of not only these 4 men, but every veteran here. It's an honor and a pleasure to get up. And we chose the ukulele because a lot of you guys in World War II, you went through Hawaii. And you know, Hawaii is popular with the ukulele culture, and they say the people that play the ukulele are the kindest and the most gentle and the best looking. But I've chosen a couple of songs today, excuse me, chosen a couple of songs that I want you all to sing, not only me, because frankly, the louder you sing, the less you will hear me. As far as my dad, he's now my roommate. Back in 2020, he decided that he wanted to come and live with me, and I said, let's go. So he and I are bachelors. He's been with me since April. We've only had to call the law twice. The second time they came out, they said, now listen, if we come out again, one of you is going to jail. We don't know which one yet, but one of you is going. But no, we get along fine. Had a brother, served in the U.S. Army, 27 years, recently succumbed in 2018 to Agent Orange. Have a nephew here today, 24 years, retired U.S. Air Force, all his brothers. And I grew up with a Marine. So you'll know how that means. But it's such an honor and such a privilege. Claude, thank you so much. Somebody's printed my music a little smaller. I forget to put my glasses on here. So I want you all, please sing with me. I'll get us started. God bless America. God bless America. Land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above. From the mountains to the prairies to the ocean, white with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, my home, sweet home. Oh, wow. I believe we could go on tour. Let's do it again. You want to? 1, 2, 3, 4. God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with light from above. From the mountains to the prairies to the ocean, white with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, my home. much for allowing me to be here today. It is such an honor and a privilege. And Dad has always told me, he goes, son, he said, I'm not a hero. He said, the heroes are the ones that didn't come back. The ones that suffered and bled and died on Iwo Jima, in Europe, any of the islands. So he tells me it's only by amazing grace that he came home, had 4 children, raised us all. Most of us turned out okay. I don't know what happened to me, but most of us did. Okay. So please sing this one for me, okay? Mentioned today, and I know we got some Vietnam, we got some World War II, may have some Desert Storm here, but I know you Vietnam guys will probably remember this. Like I said, my brother did 2 tours in Vietnam. We lost him in 18. So sometimes you just got to have somebody to lean on. I get that. Okay. Sing this one then. Sometimes in our life we all have pain, we all have sorrow, but if we are wise, we know that there's always tomorrow. Lean on me. When you're not strong, I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on. share your load. If you just call me, you just call me, the friend you need. Call me, just call me.
Someone to lean on, isn't that kind of an appropriate phrase for veterans getting together and veterans being part of groups that support each other? Someone to lean on. Okay, most veterans like hats. As you can see, a number of them in this room are wearing a hat. So the last thing we're going to do, Barney's going to come up here and present these 4 World War II veterans with a hat. Barney. Specifics.
Yeah. So we've got 3rd Marine Division.
Wow.
Black Panther Division. Marine Division. And 19 CB Battalion.
All the time you've been taking pictures of me, I didn't know what was going to happen. But thank you. Thanks, everyone. It's been a great day.
Thank you. Thank you. You know how sometimes in the military you got to put people on the spot. So right now I'm going to put Bobby Daves here on the spot because I'm going to ask him to do the benediction. He'll close us out today.
All right. Remove your covers, please. Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we're thankful today that we could get together as veterans and honor these, especially honor these World War II veterans, the greatest generation, Lord. And we're thankful also for the other veterans that were here today. Now, Lord, we pray that as we go our separate ways, you'd give us safety, and may everything that's done and said in the remainder of this time together will be pleasing and honoring in your sight. In Christ's name we pray. Amen. Amen.
Thank you.
One final announcement, if you haven't heard about it, we do have a big fundraising dinner planned on the 21st of April. It'll be held in Greene, South Carolina at the Camp Center. It's going to be a large dinner event, and we're looking for corporate sponsors and other sponsors for that event. Also, there are individual tickets for sale, so if you want to support us or you know somebody that might want to get more involved in our organization to help this mission expand, please consider that 21st April dinner event. Thank you again for everybody to help make this possible, and for being here today, large crowd, and most importantly, thank you for these 4 very special American citizens, World War II patriots, Pacific and European, and because of you gentlemen and your colleagues in that great campaign, we have the freedoms that we enjoy today.